Hey everyone, welcome back to KDX Bricks Analytics. I am Kevin and I am going to grade and rank all 27 Lego Star Wars sets that are retiring at the end of this year. I've got a lot of them stacked here behind me. Check out my last video somewhere up here to get an explanation of all my data, analysis, and tables. A lot of good Star Wars sets retiring at the end of this year and some that are not so good. So we'll see if any of my rankings or grades surprise you, but let's jump right into it. Back at the Brick Fanatics retirement list, this is the latest and greatest, but of course we all know that it can change right up until the end of this year. And of course for this video, we're going to look at all of the Star Wars sets on the retirement list. The cumulative table on the left is the average enthusiasm score and mentions data for the last 6 months for all of these sets, obviously being Star Wars. A lot of sets have a high number of mentions with a really good average enthusiasm score. And then of course some of them have a low number of mentions with a low enthusiasm score. And then if we look at this table, the not top sets, a number of Star Wars sets also have a lot of mentions against investing and reselling. So we'll look at all of that as we look at each of these sets. The first set to rank is the new Star Wars Advent Calendar. I'm going to put it in 27th place and give it an enthusiasm score of 0. I don't invest in the Advent calendars. They never do well, but here are all the micro builds and minifigures, which look okay. This Christmas themed Ewok is kind of cool, but Omega, what are you doing here, man? You're killing us. My 26th place set is the Child set 75318, 5 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 1.4, 4.3 on Brick Set, but on the not top sets cumulative table, 7 mentions against investing and reselling. I agree, I give this set a 0.8. We'll look at some comparables in a second, but while we're here, I also want to look at the BD1 set 75335 because they're very similar. I know one is a little green guy and the other one is a droid, but this one got only 3 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 1.3, and it also got 5 mentions on this table down here against investing and reselling. I'm not going in exact order. I'm actually putting BD1 in the 19th position. The larger scale Star Wars brick built droids and figures just haven't done that well. Good to talk about them together. This is Yoda, retired last year, down from $100 to $91. BB-8 retired in 2019. It's up from $100 to $160, but it was a very slow climb. The Porg from episode 8 retired in 2019, up from 70 to 112. That's okay. The DO set that retired in 2021 is flat at 70. The history and comparables for either of these sets is not great, but I do like the BD1 set better, so I'm going to give that one a 1.5 in the 19th position. But don't worry, with this new brick-built Chewbacca set that came out, all will be rescued in this style of Star Wars Lego set. I'm kidding. To wrap up BD1, the set does look pretty good, but it's basically from a video game or two, and maybe that will add to its popularity far down the road, but if it is, it's going to be a very long hold time. It does have a 4.4 on Brick Set, and I have a quote here from Firecat4529 from a recent video of mine that I'll put on the screen that you can read that I think is a really interesting perspective. My 26th place set is the 4 Plus ATST. It has 1 mention with an enthusiasm score of 1, and it has 7 mentions against investing and reselling. I'm in the same ballpark, 0.9 for me. 87 pieces, 3 minifigures, all of them are unique, but it's $35. The minifigures look okay. The Scout Trooper is normal. ATST Pilot is pretty plain, but I like the headpiece, which is not a unique piece to this set. And then Wicket looks fantastic, but even though Brick Set says all 3 minifigures are unique, which they are in terms of the combination, the only 2 elements that are unique is Wicket's face and torso molded piece, and then the torso of the ATST driver. So even the minifigures aren't that special. I would say call it $4 per minifigure since the CMFs are $5, so that brings us to $12, and then $1, $2, and $4 for the side builds brings us to $19 if we're lucky. At $35, it's nuts. That's why it only has a 2.9 on Brick Set. I've heard some people say, hey, if you can get it at a great discount, maybe it'd be worth it. I haven't seen it less than 20, and I wouldn't buy this unless it was down to $10. I looked through the brick set database for other ugly ATSTs. The only one I came up with was this original one from 2001. And actually this one looks a lot better than this 4+ set. Obviously this really is not even comparable, but it came out in 2001 at $10 and it's $68 now. Still not great. I'm ranking the next 3 sets as a tie for 22nd place. First of those 3 is Luke Skywalker's X-Wing Fighter, set 75301, 8 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 1.4. 4 minifigures, none of them are exclusive. Next is the Imperial TIE Fighter, 75300, with 8 mentions and an E-score of 2. 3 minifigures, 2 of them are exclusive, but the 2 that are exclusive are just not that exciting. It's the NILA Protocol droid, looks good, and then it is another Imperial TIE Fighter pilot that has a little variation from the ones in the past. Third in this group is Boba Fett's Starship, 75312, 7 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 1.6. All 3 of these sets either got 3 or 4 mentions against investing and reselling, so not very popular overall. And the reason that I group them together is because they have basically the same story, which is Lego has made a lot of these over the years. Some of them are doing well, some of them are not. Definitely the later ones, as we've gotten more and more of the same very similar set, have tapered off significantly on the secondary market. Let's look at the X-Wing Fighter first and its comparables. So the Poe Dameron's X-Wing, retired in 2021, does have a bunch of unique minifigures and it's flat at about $90. The 2018 X-Wing is up from $80 to $126. Again, most of the minifigures are exclusive, so that one is okay. The 2016 version is up almost $40, which isn't great. Older Poe's X-Wing from 2015 that retired in 2018 is up from 80 to 115. As shown, the most recent X-Wing fighters aren't doing great. The older ones are doing okay, but then it's a much longer hold time. This one's up from 60 to 110, but it retired in 2014. And then this one from 2011 is up from 50 to 115. The Imperial TIE Fighter is a little better, but similar story. This is a 4+ set. Makes sense that it's up from only 20 to 29. This one that retired in 2019 with just over a year shelf life is up from 70 to 160, but all of the minifigures are exclusive and they are great, especially the Minbin Stormtrooper, awesome figure right there. Han Solo in the Imperial Mud Trooper disguise uniform is really good. So this set has a couple of special unique minifigures that are driving the price, whereas this one, not so much, retired in 2016, only up from 70 to 90. I think this is a better indication of how the set that is retiring this year will do. Boba Fett Starship, again, similar story, will do slightly better than the first 2, I think. This comparable that retired in 2020 is up from 120 to 190 with a bunch of exclusive minifigures that looks great. Now we have a pretty good gap. This one retired in 2011, up from 80 to 163. Obviously, that's a long time ago. A couple of exclusive minifigures. And then the older ones, of course, would be expected to do really well. 50 to 356. This is not an indication at all as how the current one will do on the secondary market. And same with the original that's up from 50 to over $1,000. All 3 of these sets are going to be flat in retirement, so I'm giving them enthusiasm scores of 1. Since we're looking at very common Star Wars vehicles that get produced over and over, I want to take the opportunity to look at this set right now, which is 75288, the AT-AT. It's going to have a 3.5-year shelf life, 6 minifigures. Brick Set says 4 of them are unique. The combinations are unique. None of the minifigure elements are actually unique to this set, but they do look very good overall. $170 is very expensive, but it is a 4.5 on Brick Set with a lot of ratings. I am partial to this Star Wars vehicle, just one of the more unique and cooler looking vehicles. Looking at the comparables, this one retired all the way back in 2015, up from 110 to 175. So I could see this one actually doing decent in retirement because it hasn't been made too recently. And because if people are given the opportunity to spend $800 on this or a couple $100 on this one that looks really good, I think they will want to go for this one at a premium, but not near the $800 price. A few much older ones that do not look nearly as good. This one retired in 2011, but it's up from $110 to $200. This one from 2010 is up from $130 to $493. And then lastly, this one from 2004 is up from $100 to $372. None of those look great compared to the one that is retiring now. So with all that said, I'm going to put put this one in the 17th place on the table, and I'm actually going to give it an enthusiasm score of 1.9. 21st place is the Mandalorian and the Child Brickhead Set. 5 mentions with enthusiasm score of 2. It's Brickheads, which are awesome, especially for Star Wars, and it's Mandalorian, which is fantastic. So very surprising that this is in 21st place, but it's all about this 3.5-year shelf life, which is crazy. It's been heavily discounted. And yes, like I said, the Brickheads for Star Wars historically have done very well. We will be looking at this page again towards the end of this video, but because of that shelf life, it has received 5 mentions on the not top sets table, and therefore I'm giving it an enthusiasm score of 1.3 and not one that I am investing in. And the other set that is tied for 19th place with BD1 is the Hoth AT-ST. 6 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 1.5, and I too am going to give it a 1.5. $50, 586 pieces. Brick Set says 4 minifigures, but that's including the brick-built droid, so really it's 3 minifigures. All 3 of them are exclusive, but they're not too inspiring. Chewbacca looks great with the snowflakes on him, but we have had so many Chewbaccas that I don't know how much this unique Chewbacca print is actually going to do in the secondary market. But when looking at the comparables, there is some intriguing information here. So this is the most recent AT-ST, the one from the Mandalorian, $50, but it's down to 41. 4 really good minifigures, and 2 of them are unique, which are both of the Raiders, which I guess aren't too special. First Order AT-ST that looks horrendous. This is one of the worst designed Star Wars Lego sets ever. Retired in 2018, and it's up $40 from $40 to $60, mostly because the Captain Phasma minifigure is really good. And then this is our last comparable, which I think is the most interesting. It retired in 2017, and it's up from $40 to $78. All 3 minifigures, again, are unique to the set. So I think it's likely this set grows a little bit, but at the end of the day, it is just another totally plain gray Star Wars vehicle that I don't think is getting much buzz. Now we're getting into a heavy hitter, which is this Justifier Set, $170 for just over 1,000 pieces. Brick Set says that 3 of the minifigures are exclusive, but don't let that fool you, because Omega is in the advent calendar like we talked about, and then Total 360 is so small I don't really count it. Fennec Shand is awesome, and then the Clone Commando is great too, but not exclusive. So this set is all about Cad Bane when it comes to the minifigures, but because of that massive price point, it only has a 3.7 on Brick Set. The other major variable is the price that you were able to pick this set up at. Some people report as low as $80. I got a couple off of Amazon during Prime days for $102, and I think that's okay. I'm still not that excited about it, but if Cad Bane turns into an $80 or $100 minifigure and you got it at a really good price point, then I think you have a chance, but it's going to be a long hold time. A quick look at the 2 previous Cad Banes we've got in Lego sets, and then the new one. The new one looks so much better than the first 2 that this one maybe does have a chance to get up to the $80 range, and it's tucked away in a set that is pretty hard to bite the bullet and buy into. We've got a bunch of comparables to look at. Krennic's Imperial Shuttle from $90 to $193, retired in 2018, but all of the minifigures are exclusive and they are awesome. Then we have Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle, the first version, that is not accurate at all to the source material. It's the wrong colors. The wings don't splay out. So this one's down from 120 to 103. But then when Lego actually got a better look at the source material and made this new one that just retired a couple of years ago, it's up from 130 to 144. And I think this one will continue to grow. That's a pretty good ship. Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter that retired in 2018 is up from 80 to 157. This Kessel Run Millennium Falcon from Solo is up from 170 to 204. So that's not great. And lastly, this one from Rogue One is the Rebel U-Wing Fighter that retired in 2018, up from 80 to 182. And 4 of the minifigures are exclusive. My big takeaway from looking at these comparables is that a lot of things need to go right for a set like this. Initial price point needs to be good, needs to have some good exclusive minifigures, and the ship needs to be well designed and look a lot like the source material. So now back to the Justifier. It has decent minifigures and it's a decent ship, and so I'm kind of putting in the middle of all of those comparables. I think the ship design is only okay. A lot of gaps, a lot of weird stuff in the cockpit area and in the nose, and then the big hammer section in the back that swings up and down breakdown is incomplete. I get it. That way it can be in both configurations when it's sitting on the shelf, but still there's a lot of misses. Adding all that up, it's right in the middle for me. That's why I'm putting this in the 18th place on my table, and only an enthusiasm score of 1.8, even though in the last 6 months it's got 15 mentions, but an E-score of 1.9. Next up is the Dark Trooper Attack. I love this set. I love this scene. Those minifigures are awesome. The hallway is awesome. I know you would think that a hallway scene can't be that exciting, but to me, it just makes me feel like I am in the scene. It's a really good diorama piece to go with all the other dioramas. But with that said, it's $35 for 166 pieces. That's made a lot of people unhappy, but with that crazy price point, it still has a 4.0 on Bricks Set, 7 mentions with an E-score of 1.7 over the last 6 months. I'm going to put it in 16th place on my table. I would like to put it higher, but I can understand the hesitation, and I agree with a lot of it. I am giving it my own E-score of 2.0. The Luke minifigure is exclusive to this set, but the Dark Troopers are not, but the Dark Troopers are amazing. And the great thing is that they are only in this other set, the Imperial Light Cruiser, and there's only one of them in the set. So you can pay $160 to get one, or you can pay $35, get it on a heavy discount. It has been from time to time to get 3 of them. Battle packs typically do pretty well in Star Wars, but it really does depend a lot on the character and the show or movie that it's tied into. Yes, Mandalorian is super popular, but it's not going to be as popular as Clones, obviously. And then I didn't do this by design, but my 15th place set is the other battle pack like set, which is the Snowtrooper battle pack. It got 14 mentions with an E-score of 2.1. I too am giving it a 2.1. Similar story to the previous set, except that Snowtroopers are more popular characters, and this is a much better price point at $20 for the 4 minifigures and the 105 pieces. It will have a 2-year shelf life, a 4.1 on Brick Set. I wanted to look at Hoth and Snowtrooper related sets, and this one from 2016 that had a 1-year shelf life is up from $25 to $55, and it looks pretty good with that Snowtrooper in there. And then the Battle of Hoth, also a 1-year shelf life from 2013, up from $50 to $75. That's decent. And then the UCS set Assault on Hoth is up from $250 to $433, which is pretty good, but not great for a UCS set, but I actually like this one a lot. And then I did want to show this UCS AT-AT set again at the $850 price point. But why am I showing this? Because if you get this set, then you need a bunch more Snowtroopers to fill up all of those seats and all of that usable space. In 14th place is Boba Fett's Throne Room, another set that I really like. 10 mentions with an enthusiasm score of 2, just under a 2-year shelf life, but 7 minifigures and 6 of them are exclusive, and they are sweet looking minifigures, but only a 3.8 on Brick Set. And why? Because it's $100 for 732 pieces. We've been able to get it for $50 at Costco, $70 a few places. If you're getting between $50 and $70, I think you're going to do okay. Looking at some similar sets, this Jabba's Palace that retired in 2013 is up from $120 to $315. And then this original Jabba's Palace from 2004 is up from $30 to $297. A lot of similarities between these two sets and the Boba Fett's Throne Room. I don't think it's going to skyrocket like the first two, but I think it could do okay because of all of the unique minifigures. I'm giving it a 2.2 enthusiasm score. Next up is Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Vader from the ObiWan Kenobi Disney Plus show. All 4 minifigures are exclusive, and they are really good minifigures, and most of the elements that make up these minifigures are also exclusive. Ned B looks great. Of course, Darth Vader is awesome. Obi-Wan looks sharp, and Captain Tala is a good character. Glad we get her in minifigure form. 7 mentions in the last 6 months, only a 1.9 enthusiasm score. I put it at a 2.3, and similar to the last set, only a 3.5 on Brick Set because at $50 for these 408 pieces, when most of them are just a terrain build. I actually still like the build of the set too. I know it's kind of plain, but it is really indicative of the scene and how the fire comes up from the middle or under the terrain and how it spills out is really well done. It's been on sale for $30, $35, and if it drops down to 30 or less, then I would pick up a couple more. Looking at comparables, here's the Battle on Scarif that retired in 2017, only a 1-year shelf life, and I did mean to point out that this set is just over a year shelf life, which is pretty good when you have a bunch of exclusive exclusive minifigures. Back to this set, up from $50 to $126, a lot of similarities, but a set that's not doing as well is this one from episode 7, down from 60 to 51. Encounter on Jakku, down from 60 to 40, but both of these sets didn't have great minifigures and not many of them were unique. Lastly, with this set, if we take another look at the build and then look at all the dioramas, it could kind of fit in. So I think that's another positive point for this set. The other set I'm putting in 12th place is the UCS Republic Gunship, which is probably a surprise to a number of folks. I am going to give it a 2.3 enthusiasm score. On the cumulative table, it's only a 2.1, but it does have 14 mentions. A lot of the YouTube videos that I've watched, the presenters are either in love with this set or they are avoiding it completely, so there's not much middle ground. It is $400 for only 3,292 pieces. It does come with 2 minifigures. The Mace Windu is exclusive, but not that exciting. And then this plain old Clone Trooper Commander, which is in other sets. 4.5 on Bricks Set, and a pretty good 2.5 year shelf life for a UCS set. If we look at other Republic Gunships, this one retired in 2014, up from $120 to $454, so that's outstanding. And this one from 2010, up from $120 to $660. Gunships related to the Clone Wars and the prequel movies are very popular, but this one is just so big and it's ugly to me. At this scale, the color flow should have been done so much better in my opinion, and there's just a lot of scale issues with the minifigures fitting in the cockpits and the ball turrets, but then being way too small for the main bay area, and then of course the very disappointing selection of minifigures. But if we look at the list of UCS sets and we look at the first versions of Star Wars ships, they historically have done pretty well, like the X-Wing Fighter up to $1,500, the TIE Inceptor $1,000, the Blockade Runner $1,500, the Imperial Star Destroyer almost $2,000, the Y-Wing $600, Vader's TIE Advanced over $1,000. So those examples just go on and on. The original Millennium Falcon $2,500. All of that certainly indicates that this set should do well in retirement, probably a long hold time, but I'm being cautious. Next up is the Razor Crest. This is an Amazon exclusive for $140. 5 minifigures, just over 1,000 pieces, so pretty expensive. Only one of the minifigures is unique, and obviously IG-11 and Grogu doesn't really count. The Grief Karga minifigure is the exclusive one, and it looks like an alligator still hasn't bit his hand off yet, so that's good. A 4.4 rating on Bricks Set, but almost a 3.5 year shelf life. I'm not going to let that scare me away too much. It will be a long hold time, but I think this set is so well done, and it is such a popular ship. The first season of The Mandalorian was fantastic. If we look at comparables, here again is Krennic's Imperial Shuttle. This one up from 90 to 103. Yes, all the minifigures are exclusive, but it is a really good ship and a bunch of great minifigures from a very popular scenes. Kylo Ren's TIE Fighter, only 2 of the 4 minifigures are exclusive, but again, another really well designed ship, up from $80 to $157. And then the Rebel U-Wing that retired in 2018, up from $80 to $182. I think the Razor Crest will be a little slower in getting to a return like that because of the minifigures not being exclusive, but I don't see Lego making another Razor Crest for a very long time. Over here on the cumulative table, it has 17 mentions with an E-score of 2.4. I'm actually going to put this in the 10th place because I'm saving the 11th spot for when I talk about all 3 diorama sets. For the Razor Crest, I'm giving it an E-score of 2.5. In 9th place, I'm going to put the Dark Trooper helmet, 30 mentions with an E-score of 2.2. I'm actually going to go 2.6, and I might be pushing that. I don't like this set much at all. I agree with the 3.7. We know that all the helmets are overpriced. We have been able to get them on discount. I'm giving it a pretty high rating, one, because it is less than a 2-year shelf life, and because the Star Wars helmets that have already come out are doing pretty well, which we'll look at in a minute. But I wanted to pair this set with the Luke Skywalker Red 5 helmet that also has the less than 2-year shelf life, has a 4.1 this time, and I think this one looks fantastic. This one looks nothing like the source material. We just looked at the Dark Trooper minifigures that look a lot like the source material and look great. This one doesn't look like it at all, other than a few complaints with the goggles visor area, which I think is not too bad. This one looks fantastic, and it's Luke Skywalker, the most iconic. This one I think is flying under the radar and will do really well. Looking at the list of 11 helmets that have already come out in Star Wars. Boba Fett, $60 to $72, almost a 3-year shelf life, just retired last year. I think that's already doing pretty well out of the gate. The Stormtrooper is a little bit of an anomaly, from $60 to $128. The TIE Fighter Pilot was a Target exclusive, so that one jumped from $60 to $224. And I wanted to wait until showing you that one to point out that although this one looks terrible, it is also a Target exclusive, and that will give it a bump. That's why I'm going to 2.5 instead of the 2.2 that is on the cumulative table. Oh, and don't forget, my videos are for entertainment purposes only. I do not provide financial advice. You got to get that from somebody else. Scout Trooper that just retired, up from 50 to 62. Darth Vader is going to be out forever. There are only 11 total, and the rumors are that Lego is done making the Star Wars helmets. If we look at some of the older busts, like this Darth Vader bust, it's up from 40 to 169, only retired in 2019. Sith Trooper bust is 525, but it was a promotional, so it's not a fair comparison, but wanted to show that it's out there. And then this Darth Maul UCS is up from $150 to $2,500. Because of how great and colorful and bright this helmet is overall, I'm actually putting this set in the top of the tied for 6th place, and I'm going to give it a 2.7 enthusiasm score. Now it's time to talk about all 3 of the diorama sets. The Dagobah Jedi Training diorama is my favorite. 1,000 pieces, $90, very expensive. Got to get all of the dioramas on a very good sale, which has been possible, but it's a 4.4 on brick set. 2 of the minifigures are unique. Luke Skywalker in his training clothes, and R2-D2 with the mud and the back printing. Really good minifigures. The Death Star trash compactor, 6 minifigures. Brick set says 2 of them are unique, but none of the minifigure elements are exclusive to this set. Also $90, also 4.4. And then the third one, which is kind of unique because it doesn't have any minifigures, is only a 4.2, $70 for 665 pieces. Also overpriced, got to get it on sale. All 3 of these came out in April of 22, so they'll have a 1-year, 8-month shelf life, which I think is pretty good. And I did forget to mention that the trash compactor is a Walmart exclusive. For comparables, I'm looking at these sets a little differently. I looked up interesting sub-themes within Star Wars and went back to the original sets within those sub-themes and said to myself, hey, the diorama sub-theme already has 5 sets in it. Sounds like we're gonna get some more, so it should be around for a little while. It's a really specialized and really well done sub-theme that I thought that comparing to other sub-themes would give a pretty good indication on these sets. So first, let's look at the micro fighters. And if we go all the way back to the 2014 versions, most of them are doing pretty well. $17 on this one, but 27, 25, 21, 53. If we look at this mini build sub-theme where they're all $5 to $7, then they too have good returns on investment. 18, 32, 21, 39. Look again at the UCS sub-theme and go back to the originals. They're all doing extremely well. But then let's do something unique that doesn't have many sets in the sub-theme. This one only has 12, and this is the Planet set. They all were MSRP $10 up to 30, 30, 30, 83, 32, 50. So that's a decent indication for something that's a little unique. Helmet sub-theme only 11 in this one, and all the originals are doing really well. One more sub-theme, the Legends sub-theme, kind of a unique comparable, but it could be an indication. All these are doing pretty well, 30 to 51. The TIE Defender, 50 to 154. The TIE Crawler, 50 to 143. Yes, these ships haven't been made again, but odds are we won't get the dioramas like these again. These are probably one and done. So let's rank all 3 of these on my table. The worst of the 3 for me is the Death Star Trench Run, just because it doesn't have any minifigures. Putting that in the 11th place with an E-score of 2.4. It only has an E-score of 1.9 and 13 mentions on our cumulative table. I think it'll do better than that. Next, I like the Trash Compactor, 19 mentions with an E-score of 2.4. I'm going to put it in the 6th place with a 2.7. And then my favorite by far is the Dagobah Jedi Training diorama. I'm going to put it tied for 4th place. It has only 8 mentions, so flying under the radar a little bit, but an enthusiasm score of 2.6, and I'm giving it a 2.8. I want to talk about these next two together because they are both ships with exclusive minifigures from recent Disney Plus Star Wars series. They both have 1 year, 5-month shelf lives. 75338 Ambush on Ferrix is from the Andor show, which was awesome. $70 for 673 pieces. Super expensive, a 4.1, but it is a Target exclusive, and all three of these characters were well developed through the first season. On Rotten Tomatoes, Andor is a 96% to 86%, which is great. I can't wait for season 2. The Inquisitor Transport Scythe, all 4 of the minifigures are also exclusive, and they are just great. This one is $100 for 924 pieces. I think that's a very good price. A 4.6 on Bricks Set. Totally agree. The show wasn't quite as good, 82% to 62%. I still liked it a lot. The comparables are going to be the same for both. I looked for unique ships from Star Wars shows that have a bunch of exclusive minifigures. This Bad Batch attack shuttle that retired at the end of last year, already from 100 to 131, really good. This Mandalorian starfighter that retired last year, also from the Clone Wars, from 60 to 100. Those comparables are really strong indicators for these two sets because they are full of exclusive minifigures. If we look at Brick Economy for the Ambush on Ferrix, these three are already going for $45, which is over half of the retail price of the set. And then the 4 minifigures from the Transport Scythe are going for about $55, which is a little bit over half of the retail price. Both also really strong indicators. And then lastly, I just think both of these sets are flying under the radar a little bit because they are TV shows. And I think people are forgetting or not thinking that, hey, Lego may not make these minifigures ever again or for a very, very long time. So I could see people down the road looking back saying, oh man, I wish I'd had that set. And of course, new fans that get Disney Plus and watch these will want to come back and get these sets. Ambush on Ferrix has 15 mentions with a 2.1. I'm going to put it in the 6th spot and give it a 2.7. And then the Inquisitor Transport Scythe, I'm putting in the 4th spot with a 2.8. And now time for my top 3. I'm putting the Ahsoka Tano Brickhead in the 3rd place slot. 36 mentions, an E-score of 2.8. I'm giving her a 2.9 in Brickhead's form. She looks amazing. Much better than a lot of the Brickhead sets, in my opinion. If we look at those, Star Wars Brickheads historically do quite well. $20 to $32, $10 to $20, $10 to $36, $10 to $42, $15 to $47. This one has a 2-year shelf life, which is pretty long, but her show just came out, which on Rotten Tomatoes is an 87%, 73%. So far, doing really well. I like it a lot. But don't forget, this is the 150th Brickhead also, which, adds a little bit of something to it. A quick peek at eBay shows that this set is already going for double MSRP shipped, and now tied for first place, because I gave both of these sets a enthusiasm score of 3, is the Battle of Endor Heroes and the Republic Fighter Tank. Starting with Battle Endor Heroes, 25 mentions, an E-score of 2.4, which I think is way too low. And I'm actually going to give the edge, even though I gave them both enthusiasm scores of 3, I'm going to give the edge to this set because it's still on the retirement list and will have a 8-month shelf life, and it has 5 of the 30 Star Wars characters that have ever been made in Brickhead's form, all in one pack. I know a lot of people are scared that this set will be extended into 2024. I'm gonna hope that that's not gonna be the case, and I'm gonna not be scared and go in on this set. It's great that you can get 5 characters in one box. Wicket looks fantastic. First time in Brickhead's form, probably never again. Princess Leia in her Endor outfit looks great. Probably not gonna get that style again. R2-D2 first time, probably get R2-D2 again. Luke is very plain, and Lando, who is also a first timer, and we'll probably never get him again. And then last but not least is the Republic Fighter Tank. I also grade it a 3 E-score, 39 mentions with a 2.8 on our cumulative table. Here's the set, a 1 year, 8-month shelf life, 6 minifigures. Of course, just 2 of them are battle droids, but the other 4 are exclusive and are great. Mace Windu's arm printing that we've pointed out many times is fantastic, much better than the UCS Gunship Mace Windu. And then these clones are awesome. I love the purple detail, the 187th group that is attached to Mace Windu. And I know these are pretty much made up by Hasbro years ago as a toy. I explained that much deeper in a previous video. Go check that out. But I still think the purple clone troopers are awesome and will be very popular. It's a 4.0 on Brickset because $40 is a little high for the 262 pieces. I'm okay with that. It is a Target exclusive. It will be hard to get. There are limits at lego.com. Tons of people love to army build with clone troopers. Some comparables, and they show us that Republic fighter tanks do nothing but go way up in value. This one from 2018, $25 to $91, and this one from 2009, $50 to $268. Here's my table expanded so you can see all of my rankings. And to summarize, here are my top 10 in order, starting with the best: Battle of Endor Heroes, the Republic Fighter Tank, Ahsoka Brickheads, Dagobah Jedi Training Diorama, the Inquisitor Transport Scythe, Skywalker Red 5 Helmet, the Ambush on Ferrix, the Death Star Trash Compactor, and then in 9th place is the Dark Trooper Helmet, and 10th place is the Razor Crest. Thank you very much for watching this video. That's a wrap, and I'll see you in the next one.